Welcome to my new series, ABS. That is ABS for Army Build Series. Today we are showcasing a Savage Orc army. This is going to be in a multiplayer sense. However, this series will encompass both multiplayer and campaign armies. And for the most part, just kind of showcase how I would use this army, how I would build it, and why I think it's good or fun, whatever the case may be. So I'm going to show this off in multiplayer for this battle specifically. However, this definitely is an army you can build in campaign. You do need to take Wurzog, or have him in your faction if you confederate him, however that works in campaign. He is the Savage Orc, one Savage Orc Lord, and he buffs them through the stratosphere. So, highly recommend taking him. Obviously, kind of need to if you want to try and keep up the theme. The one Savage Orc unit the one unit that isn't a Savage Orc is obviously these Goblin Wolf Rider Archers. I take them for multiplayer. You can take them in campaign, but I wouldn't recommend it. Basically, cost is much more of a factor in multiplayer, so you need to find some cheaper options here and there. These guys are extremely good for some skirmish play and running down routing units, so that's why they are in the army here. For the most part, though, it is a Savage Orc build. We have a massive Savage Orc Big Gun front line. I always take Savage Orc Big Guns over normal Savage Orcs. They are more expensive, but I think they typically warrant the cost increase. They have a bit of an anti-large bonus to them. Insane melee attack at 50, and pretty strong unit overall just with their base stats. They have a large HP pool, 100 models, no armor, but that 25 physical resist actually does a lot more than you think. Looks like they are also immune to psychology. I did not know that. Oh no, that's probably because of the frenzy, so scratch that bit there. In the back line, we do have a Savage Orc Arrow Boy line. This is an extremely good thing, I think, to bring in every Greenskins build, if it's Savage Orc Arrow Boys or just normal Arrow Boys. They have 18 missile strength, but 6 of that is armor piercing. Focus fire, they will pretty much kill everything or anything that you have them focus fire. So an extremely good unit. They pretty much pay for themselves every single time. They have decent melee attack stats. They're still going to be packing a punch if they have to get in the fight, but for the most part, obviously you want to use those as ranged units. Fairly good unit on that end as well. Over here we have Savage Orc Boar Boys. I think they are the best variant of Savage Orc Boar Boy. Just the basic one. They're cheaper, they do the job, they have tons of melee attack. That charge bonus is just through the roof. They're going to be able to pretty much evaporate whatever they slam into. They are fairly squishy, but obviously you're going to want to try and pair them with maybe someone like Wurzog, maybe a Goblin Wolf Rider, or in the back we do have Boar Boy Biggins. That I typically wouldn't take in multiplayer, but I just had an extra bit of funds, and in campaign, you're going to want to just go with these guys. They are more expensive, cost doesn't matter near as much in campaign. So, they are the slightly better performing variant of the Savage Boar Boys, but definitely worth their price if you're in campaign. Multiplayer, not so much. So, Wurzog does have his Bonewood Staff, which is an AoE, pretty much the entire map buff for every time he casts spells. I've brought Foot of Gork, Brain Busta, and Effigia to get. Pretty darn good kit with him. He is a caster lord, so you don't need any other heroes, which is pretty much what we go for this army. We take Effigy so we can pin down like high priority targets, and then maybe Foot of Gorkum in this scenario. There's nothing too expensive that we want to be doing that to. My opponent has switched his artillery, if you didn't notice. He was pretty much bombarding the Goblin Wolf Riders, which is really good against... I mean, it's really good for me because all that high power or high damage Grand Cannon and Sky Junk artillery powers going to stuff that isn't nearly as useful. Obviously, they have switched targets. These Savage Orc Boar Boys are getting pelted. Savage Orc Bacon's taking a big amount of damage as well. So, pretty good engagement here. We are going to be enveloping my opponent. This is what you want to do as a rush build. Something very good about these Savage Orcs is they're all 37 movement speed. So, it's a very good rush build, very quick to getting into your opponent. We have a beautiful box here from Cathay. A couple artillery pieces surrounded by peasant archers and peasant spears, jade warriors, Zaoming in the center. It's going to be a fun little rumble. So we're keeping these wolf riders away from the jade lancers. They are not going to win that melee, but jade lancers are going to be pretty good at screening them away. Jade lancers have really decent armor, and those wolf riders are much worse when it comes to the armor piercing numbers. We do, however, have a nice big opening into the back line. Really terrible targeting there from our poor cavalry, just walking straight into the spears, but we do get to the back line into the Grand Cannon, which is really big for us. So we're getting on top of that Grand Cannon. Zhao Ming spawns, and we instantly effigy to get him. We do not want him to get in melee. We want to deny his power as much as possible. That was two that over the course of the whole engagement there, I did cast Brainburster twice on Peasant Archers. It does about half HP to stuff that is low armor, 15 armor, give or take. So, very good spell for clearing out those chaff units. 2 casts, bam, Peasants are running for the hills. Nothing too expensive here, so Foot of Gork is not necessarily the spell we are looking to use. Now, Wurzog is cut out a bit here. He's in and amongst some spears. We've got Zhao Ming coming down on him. We barely get out of the way in time, and we're running over to the front line where we are having our win. Wah pops. Lots of damage coming down on this Sky Junk. We are focus firing it with the Savage Orc Arrow Boys. As you can see, they're doing a ton of damage to it. It's about to probably just fall or rout pretty soon. Nice breath spell from Zhao Ming. He's going to be coming down and trying to fight Wurzog. Hopefully we can do well by holding him off of that. Savage Orcs are cleaning up, trying to take down these Jade Warriors over here. Sorry, Jade Lancers over here. Jade Lancer's doing a great job of getting into my backline and messing things up. Obviously, if you're playing in campaign, the opponent that you're against is the AI. They're not going to be doing nearly as well in this instance. But, you know, it just kind of goes to show why this build actually can work, even though it's all Savage Orcs, and that might seem a little memey. They're doing a pretty good job. So far, balance of power is fairly even. Tons of infantry on my opponent's side, but it looks like we are getting a nice big blob coming right here, and that is the perfect time to use a Foot of Gork. A massive Foot of Gork coming down. Wurzog's in trouble, but all those spearmen get absolutely blasted. Beautiful cast. Wurzog's going to run away from Zhao Ming, who does transform back into his human form. We are feeling pretty over there. We've got one Jade Warrior back here, as well as Jade Lancer in our backline. We're going to see if we can hopefully clean this up. The Savage Orc Warboy Big Guns are in that fray. They're going to be doing a really good job. Savage Orc Boys are running around in the backlines trying to clean up what's rest of them, and we are now taking the Goblin Wolf Riders to town on the routing units. This is probably their biggest use, is just running down those units that have broken off from the field and keeping them routing. Nice Brain Burster coming in. Beautiful damage. That's pretty much the main thing you just want to use with Wurzog. It's those 2 spells. Brain Burster is going to do really good against light armor, and Foot of Gork's going to do incredible against heavy armor or just really big blobs. Obviously, Effigy of the Git's a really good way to pin those targets in place. As you can see, we're putting Zhao Ming. We're just trapping him here so that Wurzog can get away and we can shoot him up, or essentially just dictate the pace of the battle who we get to engage with. So, nice big breakaway. We have been able to pretty much clean up most of the mobility from our opponent. All the Jade Lancers have routed, and we are now just going to try and get rid of all of his ground infantry, which is very much suffering. We got one solid unit of Jade Warriors here that's fairly healthy. The rest of it, though, is all just Peasant Long Spearmen, and those are fairly easy to rout. So, we got enough firepower here still. Savage Orc Arrow Boys. They are going to be taking a bit of a beating from Zhao Ming, but he's pretty much the only threat left on the field. Really hectic battle. Absolutely crazy. Tons of units have been routed. We're getting Wolf Riders to run them down, keep them off the field, and that's very important to do. If not, all these units would be coming back and we'd have to kill them all over again. Obviously, they would be lower HP. Brain Burster coming down, not nearly as much damage. 2 spread out, I think, by my opponent. Maybe it would have been better for me to just go for that one clump of spearmen on that end. But we do have a nice healthy unit of Savage Orc Savage Orc Big Guns engaging with Zhao Ming, the Iron Dragon. I don't think that this combat's going to go too well for him. He doesn't have the highest armor values. 70 is whatever, but 60 melee defense is going to give these Savage Orc Big Guns a bit of trouble. They're not going to be able to beat him up nearly as well, but they'll probably still trade up into it. So this is probably the best case scenario for us right now, is just keep him in place while we run around. Waz popped again, just cleaning up what is left on the field. Lots of units in the background here that if they're shattered, we don't need to be running down, but these ones over here, obviously, keep them running, keep them off the field. Looks like some Jade Lancers coming back to get a nice charge on our Savage Orc Arrow Boys. Nope, they shatter. Beautiful. So at this point, the balance of power is definitely in our favor. Most everything is routed. It looks like the Sky Junk just barely comes back, which is actually a big deal. Sky Junk can pretty much clean up and kill whatever's left here if it is allowed to. So only 5 leadership. It's not going to take much to rout off, but I don't have anything near it to rout it off. The Goblin Wolf Riders are fresh out of ammo. They can't do anything to it. Excel, here it comes with a nice shot coming in. We're going to hit the Arrow Boys, I believe. Barely misses them. That's very lucky on my part. These Savage Orc Boar Boys, Savage Orc Biggins, doing as much damage as they could against the Iron Dragon, but they have routed off. We're going to try and just poke Zhao Ming from the back with Wurzog, but we do not want to stay in melee. So you can see Wurzog starting to take a beating. That is not ideal for us. Beautiful breath spell coming down, almost routing off those Savage Orc Arrow Boys, and at this point it's just how the heck do we kill Zhao Ming. So we're going to bring in all our cavalry. They've got their charge bonus and armor-piercing weapon strength, so we're going to see if maybe we can goon him out. That's going to be the attempt from there. We are sending this archer unit over here to try and rout the Sky Junk. It could be close. Which one routes which first, we will find out soon enough. I'm going to start speeding things up along here. Let's see who wins this, because this is probably the more intense. So the Savage Orc Arrow Boys are about to rout. This one shot can totally rout them. Oh, and it's a miss. Do we get it? Savage Orc Arrow Boys, they're stabilizing. We need 1, maybe 2 volleys. Second volley does rout it off. We are chilling. So it is just Zhao Ming at this point. Wurzog is feeling the pain. He's not going to be able to win that 1v1. We have to figure out exactly how we're going to take him down. So at this point, probably the best thing is to divide and conquer. Move all of our units apart so that he can't just blob fight. He does change into his dragon form to pretty much give him more mobility. He has to get rid of these archers because they're the biggest threat to him. Even as a human, I can move my units aside and he'll be stuck on the ground. So he's going to go in and start bringing them out. He now has a mobility piece again still. That dragon's going to be hard to run down. The Goblin Wolf Riders do have mass. They might be able to pin him in place, but he causes terror and they have terrible leadership. So we're going to see how long that actually lasts. We do have a lot of ammo on these archers still left. We're going to speed things along from here because the battle kind of deteriorates. Just the minor micro steps to finish it off. Pretty darn solid battle though. I wanted to showcase this army in multiplayer because if you take it in campaign, it's really only realistic with... I mean, you can build it on any lord, but mainly it's Wurzog's army that's going to just buff Savage Orcs and make them super duper worth it in campaign. And at that point, it's kind of a gimmick, I feel, a campaign-specific gimmick. So I want to prove that Savage Orc builds can also definitely happen in multiplayer, and that's why you can take them in both instances here. We're going to see if Zhao Ming can route everything off here. It's still very much in our what's the word? Weight. He's almost off. He's just got really good leadership. And this is the last soak of damage. Beautiful. That is the GG. So, obviously, if you try to make this army and give it a shot, feel free to change whatever the heck you might want. Maybe you want to get rid of the Goblin Wolf Riders, add more Savage Orcs, change the numbers on it to fit your playstyle, or fit the matchup that you are up against. Here's just the damage values. Wurzog getting tons of value. He more than paid for himself. Pretty decent on a couple of these Savage Orcs. But for the most part, it's just the whole army as a whole working together very, very nicely, very, very well. Nothing performing too crazy, per se, or carrying it on any end. So that is the build. This is going to be a format I am going to use going forward. It's just going to be these abs videos. Again, army build series. Little cringe, but I enjoy it, so... We're going to be popping these out every weekend. Once every single weekend at the end of the weekend, or sorry, at the beginning of the weekend. And that's going to be the new schedule going forward. Let me know if you think that that is a fun format, if you like the idea, what I might do differently, what might need to change. Either way, hope you did enjoy that, and I will talk to you later.